So Jamie, Scenic Design.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That's me.
Yeah. So just how did you stumble into this job? Because it sounds like it's very specific sort of.
It
thing.
is very specific. I don't know. I've always was into art and stuff in high school and college, and in college, so I didn't think I could like do theater for a living at that point, right? Like I was there as an art major when I started, and at some point, so yeah, I got involved with the theater there eventually, and decided to take a class in theater design, and so it sort of covered like costumes and scenery and lighting and everything, the full spectrum of stuff that gets designed. So we got to try a little bit of everything, and as soon as we hit our section on scenery, I was like, oh my god, this is, well, just in general the whole class, but that one in particular was like, so I could do art and theater and like that could be a job. So once I kind of figured that out, I was like, well, this is what I want to do, and that's what I really like shifted all of my focus and goal to that. A lot of theater in general is sort of learned through much like almost like an apprenticeship style. Like you just sort of learn by doing things.
Okay.
And I'm not the one. So Dave is the technical director in the shop.
Okay.
So I sort of draw how I want everything to look.
Oh. Okay.
And then he goes, how are we going to make this now?
Oh, I see.
Now, obviously, here's what I often tell other design students is like, if the idea is good, it can take lots of different forms, right? So if the idea is solid, so the concept, say for instance this show, SpongeBob, the concept is like making the best out of bad situations.
Yeah.
That can show up in a lot of ways. So if for some reason this shipwreck thing didn't quite work out, it might be that it's something else and it's a giant pile of garbage, right?
Yeah.
Like, so to me the important thing that I want to maintain is the idea. And if the stuff around that idea and the stuff that's built out of that idea has to shift and change, that's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's what I'm protecting and protective of is the concept, not necessarily the objects.
Oh, wow.
And then we have student volunteers and students who are doing backstage hours for Intro to Theater.
Okay.
So we typically have a lot of students in the shop who are just either volunteering or doing backstage hours, so basically helping to build the show.
Yeah.
And we really couldn't do it without all of the student help. You can see, we have here is working on one of Mr. Crab's flaws.
Oh, yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to touch it.
No, you can,
I really
you can
just
touch
wanted
it.
to grab it.
Yeah,
It's wet paint. I would
Okay.
not recommend touching
I guess
it.
it is sticky. I wouldn't touch that.
Yeah.
Made out of EVA foam, so it's like a closed cell foam that's used in cosplay.
Oh, okay.
And so gray is, so you take the foam, it's like flat, and you trace out the pattern pieces and you cut them out and you glue them together. And when they're glued together, they have little seams. And so gray is basically filling in those seams with cloth, with like.
How do you physically manifest them feeling confident in a certain piece of clothing? Is that just a psychological thing, or is there?
Yeah. It's you can tell, like it's a body language sort of thing. You can when their face lights up.
Yeah.
They stand up straight. Yeah. They come out and they're all excited.
Yeah.
They get kind of bouncy.
Really?
Yeah. We have a little dressing room here, and they'll come out and they'll be like super excited about their costume. And if they come out and they're kind of like, you're like, you can tell that there's something wrong there.
I see.
And then you start asking questions, and you see what it is about it that is making them feel uncomfortable. So, in this show we are doing lots of very big, very cheerful, very primary colors.
SpongeBob.
Yeah, and something like SpongeBob comes with its own color palette. You know,
Yes.
we have Patrick is green and pink, and SpongeBob is yellow. So we're sticking with that basic color blocking because that's going to help the audience understand who these characters are. You know, that block of yellow is going to indicate SpongeBob.
That's SpongeBob. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're using your color theory and you're using these kind of mutually agreed upon cultural interpretations of what color means. And we don't really think about it, right? You have
I didn't think about it.
Exactly.
So,
You know, but
is that a primal thing? Darkness is bad?
It's not necessarily a primal thing, but it's something that is culturally ingrained in us through our consumption of media. So, you know, from when we're very, very small, we're all reading or watching TV. So you learn from a very young age that, okay, the bad guy is wearing black.
What did you study to like build that sort of frame of reference for color and how it affects people? Because like I've never thought about it, but like I'm sure someone could learn that, right? Like how would you learn that?
You learn it through classes, through design classes. We teach that through, we teach a class here in the theater department called Elements of Design, or Fundamentals of Design, I'm sorry. Fundamentals of Design, and we talk about exactly that sort of thing and how you use line and shape and color and texture to convey all of these feelings for characters, for scenic elements, and for lighting.
Dude, what type of person, students sort of, because this is like huge machinery and dangerous and unwieldy and stuff, you just wouldn't, like what type of person comes in here and helps you with this type of thing?
I mean, it's all over the place, it really is. I mean, that's one of the great things about university theater is it's majors of all types. Not always, but typically a lot of people have a background, they did it in high school or it's a way to get away from your studies and actually do something, and they see a product at the end. In the audience, watching a performance, and they get to say to their friends, hey, I made that, or I painted that, or I did that, I worked on that. Do you know what's behind that? You know, they got all the inside information on how that was now made. So
that's a satisfying thing. It's very tactile, right? Like
exactly.
It goes beyond the realm of ideas, you know.
Exactly.
How does someone stumble into the job of technical designer? Can you like take me way back to maybe when we were in college? Or how did this start? You know? It's a very specific job.
You know, it was started back in high school.
High school.
Yeah, just started. I had some carpentry experience. Just building skateboard ramps when I was a kid. So then I get into high school and they needed someone to help them build, you know, some scenery. So I got into that and went off to college, and I wasn't quite sure if that's what I wanted to do, but it didn't take too long until I said, you know, this is a, you know, an interesting opportunity. So, and I've just kind of stuck with it. And I've worked at a lot of different theaters, a lot of different companies, a lot of different places where you're doing more corporate theater. So corporate theater being like when they have car shows and you know they're unveiling a car and a car comes up out of the stage and it rotates around and it goes back under the stage. That's all staging in corporate theater. So any product design. So convention halls downtown, they come in with scenery, they build it up just to show off, you know, their phone or something. They build all this kind of background stuff and stuff. So it was being able to reuse stuff a lot. So over there are stock walls that we have, and there's a couple stock doorways in there. So when he gives me a drawing and I see this wall, I start breaking it up into what can I use that I've already got built that I can start using some of those puzzle pieces to make.
I see.
So I kind of think of it kind of like, you know, we're taking a lot of our Lego pieces and putting it together, right? And then we need to just put the decorative piece in. I mean, the great moments are when everything kind of comes together and it's just a great product at the end. So, you know, everyone's having a good time, the audience enjoys it, the students that are on stage, backstage, you know, they've all enjoyed what they've done. So it's just, sometimes, some kinks get in there and things don't work quite as well, and there's a little stress and stuff. But when they run smoothly, it's just really nice.
Yeah.
Whenever
Patrick Mathis, they, them, and I am the assistant director of lighting and sound. I'm pointing to the door so that it doesn't seem as stupid that I had to look to the door and be like, what do I do here?
Oh my gosh.
So what are your responsibilities in that position?
So I oversee design for lighting and sound for most of the productions. There's some split with sound with Kevin, our audio engineer, who we work together to make things kind of what we need. He handles all the cool bits of like mixing and getting stuff really dialed in, and then if there are sound effects or other bits and pieces, I program that. And then on top of that, any kind of teaching that, we all kind of team teach stagecraft, and then if there's special topics with lighting, hoping to get a projection course out there sometime with Josh, and then Josh, the program head, who also does the media. Yeah.
So he's mixing, and you said you're programming. What's the difference? Like, what's programming?
So mixing, what Kevin will be doing for the musical is live, like straight up live mixing, changing levels on the fly. So if someone's a little sick that day, he can bump them up and keep things sounding good.
Gotcha.
I program in something called QLab that does lighting, sound, and projection now. It used to just be sound, but it became sound and projection, now lighting. Which is just queuing up pre-canned sounds so that someone can push spacebar on computer and sound playback happens wherever you want it to.
Gotcha. So you're sort of like designing it or just timing it, or so like they press a button and it comes on when it needs
We work with the director to choose like these are the sound effects that fit what you're looking for, and then adjust. Like if it needs adjustment, we can tweak it. We can throw it into a digital audio workspace and play with it. But generally, it's just kind of getting what they want, and then, as you said, setting up the timing so that every night, when whatever happens, be it SpongeBob falling or the slow motion scene, it all sounds the same every time.
Yeah. And what are the majors of these people? Is there like a specific pattern, or it's just across the board different people?
It's crazy cool. Just like zoology, engineering, biochem. I am sure that someone that is smarter than I could be like, well, the data set says it's primarily, but folks that I've talked to are generally spread out across everything, and which is super cool to get like the perspective of students on these kinds of things from outside. Because my undergrad major was computer science, so I think of things in kind of that way, and it's really neat to interface with other people that also have similar tendencies and be like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. So it's a lot of people from all over the place, which is awesome.
It's like a long journey, and I feel like it sort of illustrates how eclectic you can be. Like you were working at Disney, and then you did the IT stuff, and then now you're doing this. So it's pretty. I feel like that's encouraging, kind of though too, that you can sort of
go find what you love.
Yeah.
A lifetime is a long time to be miserable.
True.
This is true.
That's true.
I sat down and was like, these people do really great work, and I am a part of it, and I am enjoying it. It's like the butterfly meme. It's like, is this what happiness is? Is this the...
Can I just get your name and your position?
Sure.
Just all your background information first.
I'm Mia Self. I'm an assistant director with the University Theater Program. My specialization is acting, directing, and I work with our academic programs.
Gotcha. So it's part of a director sort of listening to that voice that you have when you're a child, and you kind of know where it goes. Because I feel like when you get older, you second guess, right? Like, I don't know if I should do this. Like, what's that like? Like, how do you lead the ship and like have your vision in the midst of all these people, right? Like,
the way I work, and I think directors work in lots of different ways. I really want things to feel a certain way, that I want it to. How to explain it? My primary job as a director is I am the eyes and ears of the audience. I am there until you sit down to see the show. And so what that experience is, I get to shape. And so what do I wish that to be? I am looking for how those moments begin and end and where they peak, and shaping those kinds of things. Emotionally, visibly, that things look congested and then they open up, or they're balanced or imbalanced. All of that dance, both visually, auditorily, and emotionally, is kind of what I'm looking for. And I look for what's the kind of the kernel of the story that's underneath that we don't necessarily think about. So most of the time when I ask somebody, well, why did you wear your jacket?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, well, I had it. Well, why do you have it? Well, I have it because of this. And you get down to it, and it comes down to you are making choices that communicate something that is essentially about what you value and how you interact with the world. And so even really frivolous stories, SpongeBob, the musical, for example, have at their core this real desire for human connection, to be seen as valuable members of our society, as whole humans, and as worthy of being in connection.
Yeah.
It's about mutually inspiring each other. My big goal is to try and say as clearly as I can, this is how I think it works. And then we have that conversation about what that means to them as well. So I'm kind of a wayfinder more than I am telling them what to do. They're bringing all of their creativity to it, and I'm kind of channeling that. And what's been really amazing with this production is the students have been much more involved with choreography and figuring out how things work just because of circumstances. And so the show feels really eclectic movement-wise because of all of this. We have some really, really talented dancers and movers in the show, and that's been fantastic as well.